Greetings. We appreciate your joining us. This is the Cancer Interviews podcast, and I'm your host, Bruce Morton. The bulk of our interviews are with people who have already survived their cancer diagnoses. However, our guest on this episode works to help those who have been diagnosed through the power of exercise. She is Erin Bloodworth of Geneva, Illinois. Hers is a message with relevance for anybody on a cancer interview, and now's the time to hear it. So, Erin, welcome to Cancer Interviews.
Thank you so much, Bruce. This is so fun.
And we look forward to hearing your story. But before we get to that, we want to learn a little bit more about you. So if you would, tell us a bit about where you're from, what you've done for work, and when time allows, what you like to do for fun.
Okay, so I grew up in Bedminster, New Jersey. I attended the University of Illinois. I was a kinesiology major there in Champaign-Urbana. And then I moved back to New Jersey, got married, started a family. My husband and I love the Midwest, so we then moved back to the Midwest, and we've been in the Midwest now for, approximately, I believe we've been here since 2012, so a super long time. We have 2 children, and I'd be remiss to say that my hobbies just include exercise.
Well, I'm sure they serve you well. Now, Erin, I want to ask you, upon gaining your medical credentials, what inspired you to think of the mixture between exercise and its role in aiding cancer patients?
So by training, I'm a clinical exercise physiologist. I've worked with patients anywhere from cardiac rehab patients to orthopedic patients who are rehabbing, say, a joint replacement, like a knee replacement or a hip replacement. While that, was interesting and I love the patient connections, I really wanted to narrow my focus of expertise. And I saw an opportunity in oncology where exercise could benefit most patients and not have any side effects, realistically. We don't have many contraindications to exercise and using exercise as a therapeutic tool in helping oncology patients.
By the way, we hope you'll find time to like and subscribe to our podcast. And if you click on the bell icon, that will notify you the next time we post an interview. And we want to remind you that on Cancer Interviews, we are not distributors of medical advice. If you seek medical advice, please contact a licensed healthcare professional, somebody like Erin. Now, Erin, I have to ask you, another guest of ours on Cancer Interviews, who is a strong advocate of exercise for cancer patients, says the best exercise for a patient is whatever puts, quote unquote, fire in their belly. Would you agree, or do you subscribe to a set regimen?
I 100% agree with that really smart person who you had on previous to me, because yes, any exercise that you're actually going to do is the best exercise for you. It's similar to people ask the same, well, what's the best time of day to exercise? Best time of day to exercise is when you're going to exercise. So best exercise to do is the exercise that you're going to most likely do. Don't choose an exercise that you don't enjoy doing, because you're not going to be able to adhere to that. You're just not going to be successful. The importance when choosing exercise is something that you can be consistent with.
And does a regimen need to be strenuous, or can a cancer patient have a very productive therapeutic regimen by doing something that is exercise but less than strenuous?
Yes. So I think oftentimes we confuse physical activity and exercise. Physical activity is what you typically do on a normal daily basis, right? You park your car to walk into a building, whether it be the grocery store or a work-related building. All of that is, in your daily activity is called physical activity. The planned, deliberate work is called exercise. And that planned, deliberate work looks very different for many different people. It might be a 10-minute walk. It might be a 30-minute walk. it's different for everyone based on A, where they're starting, and B, where they are in their treatment. If a patient's currently in treatment, their exercise is going to look very different than a patient who is 3 years post-treatment.
Now, if I'm hearing you correctly, because you said there's no such thing as exercise being contraindicated, it sounds like there's no downside to this. So if you would, give us an example or two of people whose cancer journeys have been aided in a physical sort of way. Their cancer journey has been aided by way of exercise.
So in May of 2024, we started the Individualized exercise program here at Northwestern Medicine Living Well. This program gives patients the opportunity to engage in an individualized exercise program that I designed specific to them. So in order for me to design that exercise program for them, I need some information. So we start with a fitness assessment. I test the patient using a battery of different fitness assessments or a battery of different fitness tests to determine a baseline or a starting point for them. From there, I can build an exercise program that's custom for them that they can work on. I ask the patient to work on this exercise program with my supervision for 3 months. We're able to work on this exercise program for 3 months. And then at the end of that 3-month intervention, I do a retest of all the exercise assessment that we did in the beginning. So we can see how much that person has changed. Now, we use patients who are currently in treatment. We use patients who are outside of treatment. Bruce, every single patient that has successfully completed their 3-month exercise intervention has shown improvements in not one, but almost all of the exercise tests that we perform. So let me tell you quickly a little bit about some of the exercise tests that we perform. One is grip strength. Grip strength is so important. Think about it, right? When you go to open a jar, there's nothing that's more debilitating than you not being able to feed yourself or get into that jar, right? And so that is something physical, but it's also a quality of life perspective, right? If you can't physically open something to physically feed or to have you nurture your body with food or nutrients, that's not okay. So one of the tests that we perform is grip strength. Grip strength is a good predictor of overall upper body strength, so we use that. We also use a chair stand test. How many times can you get from a seated position to a standing position, 17 inches from the ground, in 30 seconds? We also use a test called the get up and go test. So we start in a seated position and I time the patient to see how quickly they can get up from that seated position, walk a certain distance, and come back to that seated position. So you can see that most of these tests are going to tell us, what's the quality of life for this patient. And I can't pick one, but I can tell you that but every single patient that finishes the 3-month exercise intervention shows an improvement, whether they're in treatment or they're post-treatment. So they see an improvement in their grip strength, they see an improvement in their lower body muscular endurance, they see an improvement in their upper body muscular endurance, and quite honestly, they see an improvement in their overall quality of life.
Erin, I am guessing there is connective tissue between, metaphorically, perhaps not literally, but metaphorically, there's connective tissue between your last answer and the next couple of questions I'm going to ask you. It sounds like this sort of intervention has tremendous therapeutic properties on a physical front. But what about your patient's mental health? How does exercise help there?
Yeah, so we know that oncology patients typically are more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression during treatment and following treatment. Treatment leaves patients with a lot of debilitating symptoms post-treatment. And oftentimes exercise can help some of those debilitating symptoms that they're left with, lymphedema, neuropathy, to name a few. And so by helping the patient to be able to maybe possibly alleviate some of the pain or discomfort they're facing from these symptoms, that helps their overall mental health, right? But there's also studies that suggest that exercise absolutely can be used to decrease symptoms of depression and symptoms of anxiety as well.
Well, that sounds like that it also has a bit of a connection to my next question, and that is, how can exercise help on an emotional front?
Yeah. When you lose certain aspects of your life or certain things that you have found enjoyment because of your diagnosis, it's hard to stay positive, right? It's hard to emotionally stay connected and stay just engaged in life, right? So oftentimes, if we can help patients try to get back to some of the normal daily activities or the enjoyable activities that they were able to do prior to their diagnosis, then oftentimes we see that they feel just happier and overall higher quality of life because they can do the things that they find enjoyment in. So whether it be, playing with their grandchildren or being able to engage with their children, get on the floor, get off the floor, simple things that we kind of take for granted, if they're not able to do it, it does affect their overall emotional qualities of life. And so they do see an impact. So exercise absolutely can help emotional well-being.
Erin, the next question may catch some people by surprise, but for some of those diagnosed with cancer, because all cancer types are different, they have their own idiosyncrasies, this may catch some people by surprise. But exercise, for some diagnosed with cancer, how can exercise help with sexual function?
That's a great question. So let's talk a little bit about sex hormones. So the largest amount of our oncology patients are usually prostate and breast patients. And so with those two diagnoses, we tend to find that patients have to have their hormones suppressed in order for them to, as a part of treatment. And it also happens with gynecological patients as well. So there may be a radical pull of hormones where a surgeon goes in and takes out, say, the prostate, or the surgeon goes in and removes the ovaries and the uterus. And that's a radical removal of their sex hormones or of hormones that are super helpful for them. So that being said, if we can work with the patient and we can increase their lean muscle mass, which helps support their skeletal system, they will feel better about themselves. They will be able to move better. If we can help them increase their vigor or their endurance, that will help as well. We don't have a good amount of evidence that truly suggests that it will help their overall sexual function, but we know that it will help their overall quality of life, which we know has an impact on sexual function overall. So not a strong correlation yet matching the two, but we know that if a person is just overall more physically fit and active, that their sex life also sees a more physically fit or active lifestyle.
Now, Erin, we're about to wrap up, but I want to shine a light on the place where you work, because you're not working just independently out of your own office. You're with Northwestern Medicine Living Well. If you would, tell us about what it does for people, what it can do for people.
So Northwestern Medicine Living Well Cancer Resources provides patients and their families with resources that are above and beyond what we typically see in treatment. So things like exercise, nutrition counseling. We have counselors that are here for mental health. We have support groups. We have education. So our physicians will come in and do talks specific to a diagnosis or maybe specific to a treatment. We also have art for patients so that patients can, an oncology diagnosis is super difficult, right? And it's oftentimes also the patient kind of becomes, feels like they're the only one, right? And that's not the case. So we provide a community for patients to come in, and they can see other patients just like them doing things to help themselves to recover from their diagnosis. So that's our goal, is to help patients. And we don't care where you're being treated. Even though we are with Northwestern Medicine, they've kindly agreed that any cancer patient, regardless of where they're being treated, needs our resources. So we're agnostic. Doesn't matter if you're being treated anywhere else, you can absolutely participate in in our programs.
Now, it sounds like a lot of these services are services that can be had in and around Chicagoland, but you do have a website, and I'm guessing through the website that Northwestern Medicine can be of help to people anywhere.
You're absolutely right, Bruce. So our website is livingwellcrc.org, livingwellcrc.org. This website has our program guide. We work in program guides because we change our offerings 3 times a year. And so if you go to our website, you can access our program guide. You can see all of our programs that we have to offer. We try to offer most of our programs hybrid. So that means that we're offering them both in person and virtual at the same time. So for example, if I'm teaching a chair yoga and standing balance practice, I am teaching it both to people in person and anyone who virtually wants to use or take advantage of the program. So way to access exercise from anywhere in the country, specific to oncology, would be to use that service specifically. So livingwellcrc.org is our website, and you can sign up for any of our programs virtually using that website.
She is Erin Bloodworth of Geneva, Illinois, an exercise oncology specialist, and she has shared tons of really good information that can be availed, again, not only to just people in Chicagoland, but people from all over. So, Erin, you've shared so much with us. Really want to thank you for being with us on Cancer Interviews.
Bruce, thank you so much for doing this. I know you've been doing this for a long time, but I always get a little emotional because this is just such a passion of mine, and I love that you can share this. So thank you.
Wonderful. And again, for Living Well, if you could share that web address one more time, what is it?
Sure. It's livingwellcrc, so cat.org.
Excellent. One more time, Erin, just want to thank you for being with us on Cancer Interviews.
Thanks, Bruce.
And we want to remind you, as we always do when we wrap up, that if you or a loved one are on a cancer journey, you are not alone. There are people out there like Erin. There are organizations like Northwestern Medicine Living Well that can help you on your cancer journey. So until next time, we'll see you on down the road.